Today is July 11th, Tuesday, July 11th, and this is the regular meeting of the Kings County Board of Equalization. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Wrong date.
Today's the 17th.
I'm just reading, I am sorry. Today is July 17th, 2023, and this is the regular meeting of the Kings County Board of Equalization.
Special meeting.
Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Joe Nevs,
Here.
Richard Valley is absent. Doug Verboon,
Here.
Rusty Robinson, Richard Fagundes.
Here.
And we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready to salute.
I pledge allegiance to the
flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very good. We'll go now to unscheduled appearances. Any person may address the board at this time. Are we online? Do we have anybody online with a hand raised?
We did not.
No?
We have no written correspondence and no one online with their hand raised.
Okay, thank you. We'll go to approval of the minutes from July 11th, 2023.
So movement, Chair.
Moved by Supervisor Ness, second by Supervisor Fagundes. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs,
Yes.
Doug Verboon,
Yes.
Rusty Robinson.
Yes.
Richard Fagundes.
Yes. Okay, 4 members present have voted in favor. It is passed unanimously. We'll move on now to regular agenda items, and we'll move over to Christina Lee.
Good morning, Vice Chair, members of the board, Christy Lee, Assessor Clerk Recorder. This morning, we're here to do our annual update of the county roll and information from the Assessor's Office. So the 2023 assessed value in Kings County is $14.9 billion. And it's broken up between the unsecured roll, which is boats, aircrafts, and businesses that do not own their real property. And that's 10% of the roll. Agriculture, which is 24% of the roll. Commercial properties is 15%, and residential properties makes up 51% of the roll. We also have non-reimbursed exemptions, and that's $705 million this year. It's up 13.4% over last year. This includes disabled veterans exemptions, soldiers and sailors, welfare, religious, school and church, historical aircraft, and museum and cemetery. This does not include the homeowner's exemption, which we'll talk about next, because that exemption is actually reimbursed by the state. For the current year, homeowners will see a total exemption of $94.4 million. This is actually a $3 million decrease from last year. The homeowner's exemption is a $7,000 reduction annually of value for a property owner's primary residence. These amounts are reimbursed to the county, as I stated. So the total roll minus the exemptions that are not reimbursed is coming in at $14,210,137,343. That's an 8.5% increase over last year. This is adding $1.1 billion to the county roll. So what's led to the increase? Although housing prices have stabilized during 2022 and the first half of 23, the overall market continues to grow with new subdivisions and sales of established properties. There were 8 new housing subdivisions put in with 924 lots that were added during 2022. And then, of course, we also have the Jarvis-Gann factor, which is based on Prop 13, and that's a 2% increase of properties that do not transfer or are not new builds. So for an overview of the residential real estate market, and this is just for the month of May of 2023, the median sales price in California is $836,110. That's a 7.5% decrease over last year. The median sales price countywide is $362,000. So that was a slight decrease, but it really remained pretty stable from the prior year. Hanford showed a 4.7% decrease, coming in at 367,750 as the median home price. Armona came in at 281,000, which is exactly the same as last year. And then we show Corcoran and Avenel having large decreases or increases, I'm sorry. And what that has to do with is last year we had some outliers and there isn't a lot of sales in Corcoran and Avenel. So likely the sales that did occur last year were for closures or an unusual event, not really recognizable as what the market would pull. Lemoore had a 5.6% increase and their median sales price is $385,000. All right, solar farms. So solar is exempt to the first owner, but once it transfers, it becomes accessible. And this is significant when it comes to the commercial solar properties. Right now, we have 142.5 million in assessed value attributed to solar in Kings County. This is an increase of over $63 million over last year. And usually that is, in fact, due to solar farms transferring ownership. So Section 51 assessments. The law requires that real property is assessed at the lower of market or the Prop 13 factored base year value. When the current market value is less than the Prop 13 value, the property goes into what we call a Section 51 assessment. Properties assessed under Section 51 are reviewed every year until the current market value becomes greater than Prop 13, and then at that time, the property is returned to its Prop 13 value. So in 2023, we have 49,481 total parcels in the County of Kings, and only 385 qualify for the Section 51 exemption or revaluation. That's likely because the market is rather high. So if people bought a house a few years ago, it's likely worth more now than it was then. This is an increase of 12 parcels compared to last year, and this does not include the flood properties. So the value reduction this year is 167 million in total, which is the difference between what the factored base year value would have been and what we have enrolled for this Section 51 properties. Okay, next, oil and gas. And oil assessments remain steady for 2023 at $53 million. There's 260 parcels that have transferred to high-speed rail over the years. This currently results in a reduction of 27.4 million in value to the local roll because the state owns those properties and we do not assess the state. Some of the slivers of property have been combined into the other parcels, which has reduced the number of parcels from last year. All right. So normally I give this report and show the changes by cities or areas. And unfortunately, this data comes from the tax collector's office once the roll is closed. And at this time, they have not finished their process of the year-end closing. So I don't have the data, but I will email it to you once I have it, just so you have it for your records. So in 2023, the net roll is just over $14.2 billion. 20 years ago, the net roll was at $5.1 billion. So over the last 20 years, the county roll has increased 175%. $5.1 billion increase in value over the last 10 years, 51.5 million in additional tax this year going to schools, community colleges, cities, special districts, and the county general fund than what was available just 10 years ago. Consequently, there's approximately $11.8 million more in revenue being added to the general fund this year than there was 10 years ago, resulting in a total of about 32.7 million of general fund revenue from property taxes for the current fiscal year. This funds, of course, safety, fire, and other general services. So for the office workload, as you can see, there's a lot of work being done in the office, and I'm just grateful for the staff that does all this work. The transfers, those refer to properties that have already been built and that have transferred ownership. Mapping projects, those include things such as the splits and combinations. I talked about this, the combination of parcels when high-speed rail takes a sliver of land, and we've combined those together to make it one parcel rather than having these tiny little slivers. We work exemptions, permits, audits, do corrections to the roll. Appeals is another area that you're very familiar with. This year we have 75 appeals. Of course, this is the appeals filing period, so there could be more appeals that are filed this year through September 15th. We have parent to child exclusions. That number has dropped since Prop 19 was established a few years ago. And then we also process personal property statements and mobile homes and other items. For appeals, most differences between the assessor's office and property owners' values can be explained by just explaining how the value was established. There are very few instances when the assessor's office and a taxpayer cannot agree on the fair value of a property, but occasionally it does happen, resulting in the assessment appeal before the County Board of Equalization. The current outstanding assessment appeals for all years and all parcels is 58. Most of the appeals will be resolved without a need for a hearing. Many appeals involve more than one parcel and more than 1 year. Consequently, the number of potential hearings is less than 58. It should be noted that the appeals will increase over the next couple of years if property values decline. So this is staffing in the office. We currently have 26 staff members, and in 2020 we had 18. So we're very happy to be more fully staffed at this time. We still have a couple of positions vacant, but we are hiring for those positions. In 2010, we had 27 and a half full-time equivalents. So we're actually a little below what we were 13 years ago. So the 2023 flood, beginning in March of 2023, the Tulare Lake Basin began filling. And your board has recently approved a flood ordinance, which will allow my office to more proactively address the flooded parcels. As of June, 808 parcels are underwater. The total area is 133,971 acres. The total value of all 808 parcels is $210,876,000. As of June 30th, 195 parcels have been reduced to zero value with a total reduction of $99.1 million. So even though we still have several parcels to address, and we will be doing so since the ordinance has been implemented, about half the value has already been reflected in the current roll values. Your board also approved a low value ordinance effective January 1st of 2023. There are 7,703 assessments that fall under $10,000 in value and will not receive a property tax bill for the current fiscal year. The total value reduction was $20,458,813, which is about $47,000 in reduction to the general fund. So this amount will be offset by approximately $114,180 in assessor staff time savings, plus additional savings in the tax collector's office. So in conclusion, with the increase of interest rates, the housing market has predictably leveled off. However, we have not seen a consistent decline in values. Consumer confidence in the US was at 109.7 at the end of June of 23. This is the highest since January of 22 and indicates that the economy is cautiously optimistic. The metropolitan areas in California, including San Francisco and Los Angeles, are seeing rather significant downturns of property values. Our county trails behind and will likely see some reductions over the next year to year and a half, albeit not as extreme due to our affordable housing markets or housing prices in comparison. The 8.5% increase is the largest since 2008. Although this is a very positive note for the county, this is a time to be cautious of spending and add to contingency levels in order to alleviate the effects of a potential downturn in the economy. So at this time, I want to thank the incredible team in the office, the assistant assessor, Tim, chief appraiser, Erica, the appraiser team, which is Susan V, Alex C, Alex Z, Angel, Christian, Joshua, and Michelle, auditor accountant Myra, auditor appraisers Gabriella and Philip, our newest member, assessment specialists and assistants Crystal, Monica, Levi, Sherry, and Felicia. Cadastral mapping is Ryan and the executive secretary Elizabeth. And a lot of our work could not be done without the help of the clerk recorder team, including the property transfers and assisting whenever needed. That has Susan leading the team, Desiree, Justine, Martha, Alejandra, Tracy, and Rachel. This concludes my report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board? I have a question. So on high-speed rail, you said 260 parcels have transferred and it's a reduction of $27.4 million. Now that increased your workload, correct?
It increased the workload a few years ago when they were really taking properties. Now it's kind of stabilized, but to answer your question in general, yes, it did.
We asked, when we did the settlement, did we get any compensation to help adjust for that?
Not that I know of.
Okay. Be nice to keep track of this separate of reduction of value to our county and what it costs your staff. So if something comes up, we can say, hey, you guys are hurting us by putting this in here. So,
Yeah, that's a great point.
yeah, just in case there might be some money available at some time when it's, because they may not get completed. We may be stuck with it for a long time. So,
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
any more questions?
I just have a quick question, probably a newbie
Sure.
question, but on the tax roll of 51% is residential, 24% ag, what's the unsecured of 10%?
That's boats, aircrafts, and businesses that are not secured. So those businesses may reside in a strip mall or something that's owned by a different owner than is running the business. So they're leasing their space. So we call it unsecured because they aren't secured to the real property.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you, staff. We appreciate all the hard work and dedication. I know it had to be difficult this year with the flooding and coming up with that number as well. And tax assessor will be getting back with us shortly, you think, with the numbers, or get back to you?
With the breakdown for the cities, yes, it should be any day now.
Okay. Yeah, well, I know it's a lot of hard work, and I don't know, in my life, I don't see the increase in my lifestyle, but apparently it's out there someplace. So, you know, we all do our part, and hopefully we can be around a few more years. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I get the board to take a motion to accept the roll report, please?
I got that.
So movement, Chair.
Moved by Supervisor Neves, second by Supervisor Robinson. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs.
Yes.
Doug Verboon.
Yes.
Rusty Robinson. Richard Fagundes.
Okay.
Thank you.
4 in favor, 1 absent. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for your guys' hard work. We really appreciate it. We don't like the appeal, but we do appreciate the annual report.
Understandable.
Okay, thank you. We will adjourn.
Thank you.